starting a business together.
Do you know how many businesses fail in the first year?
What happened to tell me to dream big with my life?
Should I be worried?
I'm fine. I'm clear for duty. I won the tea light competition, didn't I? Don't tell anyone, okay?
New SWAT, next Wednesday, 10/9 Central on CBS.
Welcome, everybody, to, by the time you hear this, Thursday edition of the Trillbillies. I am running a bit of a skeleton crew, but never fear, I have recruited some muscle. And joining me from Columbus, Ohio is Mr. Bryan Quimby, one half of Street Fight Radio, one half with me of the Holy Boys. What else?
Hey, Tom. That's good to say. I do like 18 different things. So, I mean, Holy Boys and Street Fight are good, two good things for this audience.
And joining us also, feels like long overdue. I think this is like one of the only handful of times we've done some Chapo Trillbilly stuff, even though we owe a great debt to our origin story to you boys.
I remember, yeah, it's been a while. I think the first thing I ever did for you guys on your show, rather, was the Halloween episode.
Yeah,
that was the first time I've ever publicly told that story, which is like one of my favorite stupid childhood stories. And I thought it was a great venue for it.
I love that. So if you haven't guessed by now, we got two halves of I guess 2/5 of Chapo Trap House, and
it's 5 halves technically. So yes,
yeah, we're very big.
Okay, that's right. So, and we got Mr. Felix Biederman, and Mr. Matt Christman.
Hey,
collectively now the host of is it Listen to My Stories?
It's time for my stories.
Time for my stories.
This is like another show. Like when we did Chapo, we were like, who gives a shit about the name? And now it's like, this name's so fucking stupid. And with this one, like when we were thinking, I was like, what if we had this name? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. And they're like, yeah, to do that. Now we have this one too. One day I'll have something that's the 5th of like 10 names that I've thought of, not just the first thing.
Well, I love it because I didn't know. Is it a Midwestern thing to refer to your TV shows as your stories?
I don't know if it's specifically Midwestern. I've heard.
I always thought of it as a way that old ladies would refer to soap operas.
Yeah, that's
I gotta watch my stories.
Yeah,
I thought it was Southern. I actually, people say it here, but I always think we take so many of our cues from the South here that I thought it was a Southern thing, because I've heard like my grandma used to say she watched her stories.
But that's what, yeah. Like I would stay with my grandma. She'd be like watching like The Guiding Light or like The Young and the Restless or some shit, and she'd be like, I had to watch my stories are on. Don't bother me. So I was curious if that was like I didn't know if they had made it out of the mountains or not, but it's warmed me to the show, and happy to have you boys. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I to tell you the truth, like stories has to be a generational thing, and it's like the reason that it like sprung to mind was I was just thinking about how stupid it is to know a lot about shows.
Yeah.
Especially as like a man in your like late 20s or early 30s, just being like, yeah, my thing shows. But it's like, no, I've seen like every show. So
I think it's kind of the fever's breaking a little bit, but there was a while there in the, I'd say like second Bush administration, first Obama administration, when being into shows was basically the entirety of culture.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's still a little, it is still a little bit like you do like kind of have like the different areas of shows. Like you have the FX, the HBO, and each one's for like a different type of person. And I just watch all of them. So
Yeah.
I'm pan in that way.
You're Pan and Polly.
You're like me. I think we all have a similar theory on all this, which is that like what you just said, where a show is like for a specific type of person. And we just talked about this on our last episode, sort of media as an insight, not just to the audience, but to its creators. And that's why I'm interested in them. Like, I am endlessly fascinated by like someone who is like, I have to watch Ray Donovan. Like, I can't miss Ray Donovan. Like, it's so weird for me to think about the guy who invented Ray Donovan, like someone
Ray Donovan.
Yeah,
it's an autobiography. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah. But yeah, just to be like, yeah, how about a cool guy from Boston who throws women in the trash? It's like, right. Because it's such an amazing insight into like everyone in entertainment is like fucked up and like narcissistic, and you know, a million things went wrong with them to put them in entertainment. But I think people who make it in Hollywood enough to make a show and make a show that lasts for a really long time, there is just a multitude of bad things happen to you mentally. And
Absolutely.
like, so like seeing their idea, because this is more true of shows than movies. Shows are a better insight into what these people think is cool. Movies are like, I feel like the formula is more down, where it's like, okay, this is a superhero movie, this is Oscar bait, this is blah blah blah. I would delineate, like, if making movies is the Senate, making shows is the House.
Yes.
The Senate is for like, you know, the worst people in their state, fucking clawed over everyone, stabbed everyone in the back to get there. People in the House, they couldn't have a job anywhere else.
That's right.
And figuring out what they think is like constitutes a cool person is amazing. That's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
That's the FX. That's sort of the FX model too. Like their shows are about dudes being cool. That's like their whole thing with, you know, the Kurt Sutter shows, the Shield, even
Justified.
Always Sunny, Justified. Yeah, they're just like, what do dudes think is cool, and they get it right. Where like there are other channels like
the USA Network. Like, who thinks the guy from Burn Notice is cool? You know what I mean? It's like, he drives a Maserati and listens to MGMT and wears like tassel loafers. Like, that's,
you know what? There are millions of people who think the Burn Notice guy is cool. That's one of the best things about shows, is that any show that's been around for even a little bit has thousands minimally of people for whom it's their favorite thing on earth.
Yeah, like literally it's probably gotten them through the darkest moments in their life. Like, there are people who probably like are alive today because they were gonna kill themselves, but then they thought they're like, oh, I have to find out who burned him and Burn Notice. Like, it's like,
yeah, if I don't find out who burned him, it Sam? Was it Sam Axe? That's exactly it. Like, for however shitty you think a show is, like one that's been on for like 3 seasons or more, there are so many people who fucking love it and think like, yeah, the Burn Notice guy is the coolest person on earth, and probably started dressing like him.
There's like 20, like those USA shows are like endlessly fascinating to me because I've never watched one, but like there's like 23 seasons of Psych where I'm like, it is pretty incredible that like USA has this whole section of culture that's like kind of tied with CBS as like just no-go zones.
Not only that, but like Psych, there was a zillion episodes of Psych, and crazy. The funniest thing is that CBS, I think it was CBS, it was one of the networks, had a show around the same time with the exact same premise that was also incredibly popular, called The Mentalist.
Yeah.
But the premise of both those shows is that there's a genius detective who's able to notice everything on a crime scene instantly. But instead of trying to explain to people how he figured things out, he just says he's psychic and everyone believes him. And there were 2 shows with that premise, and they both had about 500 episodes each. And the thing I like to imagine is people who love one and fucking hate the other one.
You know there are those people. You know, well, like the mentalist guy is different because he like wears cool vests and shit. Whereas Psych, they're just sort of like slackers.
Yeah,
They're like late millennial slackers.
they're just bros hanging out wearing like button-down shirts.
Yeah, but the mentalist is cool.
He's like he's got like a
pussy.
vest and he's
bracelets.
Suave. He's cool. Yeah.
Which is like what everyone thinks about a guy who lies about being a magician.
Yeah. I'll say this.
The most respected guy in any community.
I've watched some Psych. I never watched The Mentalist. And honestly, I kind of do have disdain for The Mentalist because it was the one that came on. It was that debuted afterwards. So it felt like a ripoff. So keep it away from me. I'll hang out with my buddies on Psych, just solving crimes and eating In and Out.
I think, yeah, Psych was one of those shows. I mean, I always think about this guy I know who's like, he became such a like, it's like he was a chimp and I was Jen Goodall. It's just this guy I know from like middle America, let's say, like from a decently well-off family. But like, you know, you had the wealth multiplier if you live in like, like, you know, like Missouri or something, right? He wasn't from Missouri, but like, you know, one of those states that's not really the Midwest, not really the South. And he was always like, he was my perfect case study into like a type of America that I'm not from. And he would always just say the most fucking, I thought they were insane things to say to somebody. But he would go, dude, have you ever seen Covert Affairs? And I'd be like, no, we're both 20 years old. Like, what the fuck? That's like, that's what you watch after your second divorce.
Dude,
it would be like the girl on there is so hot. And it's like, this was like 2000, like everyone knew how to look up porn then. Right. It's like, no, you just like Covert Affairs.
Dude, there's so many people that like are not age appropriate to the shows that they like really love like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What would y'all say is your burn notice / covert affairs / the mentalist / Psych? Just like the show that you all love that like nobody else likes.
Brotherhood on Showtime. I'm like the biggest believer in that show, to the point that like someone I know, like I was talking about it, someone like tagged one of the writers from the show in it, and he was like, I didn't even like it this much. It's like, I don't know. I just saw something in it that no one else did. And it's, yeah, when I talk about it, there are probably like women who lost attraction to me when I brought up Brotherhood and talked about it. But Brotherhood was a cool show. It was basically the Whitey Bulger story, but in Rhode Island. So, and like very low stakes. Yeah. Like the politics brother is trying to become like the majority leader of the Rhode Island State House.
Also,
and the other brother,
aren't they Irish?
They're Irish, yeah. They're not even in the mafia.
It's Rhode Island. That's all Dagos. What are you doing? You have the wrong state.
Yeah, and they're like
90% Italians.
Well, the Irish mob, that's the best thing. His brother's like, I'm going to become the head of the Irish mob. And the Irish mob in Providence is like literally 3 people.
Yeah. It's like some travelers who do like driveway resealing scams. That's it.
They would make more money if they got like a real estate broker's license. If they just sold houses.
I mean, that is a problem with TV writers, is they don't understand the amount of money that's in crime.
Yeah.
Like they've always had such a problem with, we said this on the episode we did about at the end of Sons of Anarchy with Will, but it's like those guys were all making $20,000 a year probably.
Max.
Yeah. Like, and all of them died. All of them died for that.
Yeah. I think my show, I just watched it and I really want 1 million people to watch it. And I assume everybody's watched it, but Gomorrah on HBO Max is this Italian mob show that it's like, there's a movie about it that was made in 2008. It's just about like low level mobsters. And I just got through season 4 and I probably watched it in 2 weeks. Like I just burned through this fucking show 5 episodes a night, every night. And it was fucking incredible. And then it sent me to watching more Italian prestige TV.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
It was great. Yeah.
It's all nude. Everyone is nude in Italian prestige television.
Like I wish the USA Network was.
I mean, honestly, what the hell?
Yeah.
There is a ton of nudity in Gomorrah, but it's the Sopranos, but Italian, you know, instead of eating like gabagool, they eat like, they always order fried fish plates wherever they go.
Pescado frito.
Yeah.
That's like, yeah. Like that's something we talked about a lot in our Sopranos episode is like the comparison of the American mafia with like the Sicilian mafia or the Napoleon mafia, the Gomorrah specifically. And it is amazing because you're like, yeah, the guys in Gomorrah, like they're just cartels. They make like $50 billion a year. And in the Sopranos, it's like only like 2 guys are making like a good living.
Yeah. With the Gomorrahs also, at least in the show that I watch, is like they're always at war, like 100% of the time. Like so much of the Sopranos is them being like, we can't go to another war. You know what I mean? Like they're always trying to avoid going to war, where in like this show Gomorrah, it basically starts with a war and it's just a war all the way through.
When is Gomorrah set?
Now
oh, okay.
in Italy, in Naples, Italy. It's very good. I keep trying to get people to watch. The other thing that I watched recently is Warrior, that I want everybody to watch because I just like want them to make more of it. That and Wayne were 2 things that like recently I watched that was like they have to make more, but they're definitely not going to make more because nobody's watching them.
I think it already got canceled.
That's
yeah.
I think Warrior got canceled. I on the same tip as that, the recent show that I really loved and got canceled that nobody watched was Lodge 49.
Oh God!
You are the world's biggest Lodge 49 boost.
If there's anybody who's a bigger one, I'll talk to them. I mean, there has to be because it's the kind of show that absolutely rewards obsessive attention. So I know that there are people who are way more into it than I could be because I just can't. I can't put that much of myself into any television show, but I do like it a very great deal. And I really am I just want them to get one more season. I don't even want it to go forever just because it's like the second season is great. It ends perfectly, but it also leaves a bunch of loose ends that could easily be wrapped up with one more season. Fucking Jeff Bezos, that bald lizard scumbag, brought back The Expanse, some fucking sci-fi bullshit. Yes, I know people say it's really good. Whatever. I don't like that stuff. Because he's the fucking dork and he wants to watch that shit. And he won't bring back Lodge 49 for one more goddamn year. Just one more. Give me one more season. Giamatti's in it. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
For the uninitiated, what's Lodge 49 about?
It's about a guy who's basically at loose ends, or a guy and a girl, like twin adult siblings whose parents are dead and who are drowning in debt in Long Beach, California, and basically have no idea what to do with themselves. And the guy ends up stumbling into a sort of Mason style fraternal lodge. And he starts going there, and he just gets into hijinks and adventures with the people who are members of the lodge. And it really does. The fact that the show it was an AMC show, and those shows usually get, because that network is one of the.
It's not like places. A Netflix show where you get 2 seasons, then whether you were good or not, you're out.
Yeah, the algorithm said that's as many episodes as we need. You're done for. Like AMC is a channel that, Mad Men, Breaking Bad, like they've got a pedigree for serious, shows that have quality and depth, and legitimately just because, like, well, who's the mob boss? Where's the crime? Where's the anti-heroics? Nope, never mind. We're not talking about it. And it really, the fact that it got nowhere and it got canned after 2 seasons really says that the idea of what constitutes quality in television is shockingly narrow. And it really does conform to a lot of just very indulgent tropes that people are expecting. Like you want it to be violent, and you want it to have criminals and shit. And if it doesn't have that, it's like, if it's for guys, it has that, or it's got to have some like strong like female focus and like soap opera thing. And if it doesn't have any of that, it doesn't matter how good it is. Nobody knows what to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show is incredible, Matt. I mean, like the constant like carousel of debt that the main character's in is one of the most, like, in a TV show, was one of the most, the things I've identified most with ever watching anything. The guy is just always like at $0, has to go get a loan at the pawn shop, spends all the money, and then has to go back and get another loan. And I've lived that life, and that show is so incredible.
He's got to be the only protagonist of a television show that has to take a payday loan out.
Yeah.
I love that. I love being in hock to the check cashing joints, and then climbing my way up to the 33rd degree in Scottish Freemasonry. I don't know if that's what happens.
It's also not. It's also like Matt said, it's so not dark. Which is
that's the
like
thing. There's no darkness.
Thing.
It's not. It's not angsty. It's like it's people. It's about struggling people who are being ground down by by the economy and the inability for people to find any kind of security in like the marketized post 2008 America, but they are still at every point, like their relationships to each other sort of sustain them, and that people, I guess people don't want to see that because they don't have that in their lives, and they kind of they want to see something that reaffirms sort of the hopelessness of everything, I guess, because otherwise it just feels like it's too taunting to imagine. Oh yeah, look at you guys with your fucking friends that you like and that you are there for each other. Get out of here with that.
For me, I think I've tried to talk to a lot of people about this show, and absolutely nobody's seen it. But you know the Bryan Cranston miniseries, Your Honor, on Showtime.
Oh no! Apparently, that's a big hit.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It was kind of like a semi-bad show that you can't quit watching, but like Bryan Cranston's in it, Michael Stuhlbarg's in it, Who Rules. So very I reckon it's weird because like the main antagonist in it is like a Scottish gangster from New Orleans, which feels a little kind of like the Rhode Island Irish mob thing. Is like not exactly my first association with New Orleans organized crime, but it's good. So.
Oh, they like Scottish guys and stuff. They like English gangsters. That's an exciting thing for people because they see them as like bare knuckle fighters and shit and a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Say no more about our boy Sutter that has a real fascination with the Gaelic tradition in a lot of ways. He's like, I was reading the Wikipedia page for Bastard Executioner because it's been so long since I'd seen it. It's just so fucking funny that like this man is really like into the whole like Dropkick Murphys, Always Drink Guinness, and like Boondock Saints is like the only movie I ever watched type aesthetic.
He's obsessed with the British Isles in a way that's insane. Like usually people are just into one, but he loves Wales, he loves Scotland, he loves Ireland. Like he's into the whole thing. He thinks to him those are all interchangeable. Like a Welsh guy is like a type of Scottish guy, which is like an Irish guy. But it's his fascination with it is very notable because that was sort of like a lot of characters on Sons of Anarchy. Their only characteristic was that they were from one of those countries.
Yeah, Chibs.
Yeah.
Chibs' whole character was that he was Irish.
Right. Chibs was
They had to travel there.
Yeah, and that is someone like stole his wife and daughter.
Yeah.
It's so. I love Sons of Anarchy so much, but it's like you got this guy. It's like just a motorcycle gang heir who marries a surgeon, and they live, like you said in the show, they live in this like shitty little like ranch house somewhere in like rural California somewhere. And then there's this whole arc where they go to Ireland and they like have their bikes stripped over. And
the Ireland is like when that show went from like, like stupid in the way that Banshee is.
Yeah.
Not as self-aware as Banshee, but like, that type of show, like Warrior or something, to like becoming like one of the dumbest fucking shows I've ever seen in my life. But they were they were never not gonna do that. Like ever.
I always say that season 2 with Henry Rollins as the Nazi was like, there's
That's
like
a pinnacle.
There's a demarcation after that where at first it's prestige TV, or like you think you're watching prestige TV, and then the Ireland season happens and you're like, what? This is stupid. This is like,
oh yes, this is an FX show.
I remember I watched that second season, and I will admit at that point in my life, I was fully blue pilled on television. I wanted my TV to be good. I'll admit it. I didn't want to watch a show unless it had, like vitamins and minerals. I had not yet fully realized that, this whole thing is just like a status anxiety festival, and that like half the shit people are talking about in these shows is not even really there. They're just making it up to justify watching it instead of reading books. But I remember watching that second season after kind of being like a little bit askance at the first, like, this looks a little trashy. They keep having giant shootouts in the middle of the town. It doesn't lead to anybody getting arrested.
Taylor Sheridan just gets murked in season 1.
He just gets run over by a car. So then I watched the second season, and I was like, okay, oh wow, holy crap. And like the whole season, I'm like getting into it, loving it. And then the final episode happens, and I'm like at the edge of my seat. I'm really into Sons of Anarchy. And then the fucking guy steals the kid, and then they're going to go kill Adam Arkin, and then they go, oh, your baby's been kidnapped, and then they go driving away, and I just go, what? And I just had this instant like disenchantment with the show. And then I tried to watch the Ireland season, and it was just, I couldn't get it back. I couldn't get back in the groove. And honestly, I feel bad about that, because if you accept television for what it is, then Sons of Anarchy is awesome. It's a delight throughout. And I feel like I kind of missed out because I was too up my own ass about what I was doing with my time.
I actually went back and what happened with me was the Ireland season I quit, and then it showed up on Netflix, and I was like, oh, I got to catch up on this show. And I caught up. The one that I really I think I lasted a very long time with this show. But I had to get out was The Walking Dead. Like, I have such a tolerance for bad shit and bad TV. But I got to a point in The Walking Dead when Negan showed up that I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just done. I can't watch this show anymore. It's not good. But there are people that really do swear by that and fear The Walking Dead. Those are kind of they've taken the place of the Sons of Anarchies and the Shields, I think, is the Walking Dead.
I just watched Talking Dead with Chris Hardwick. I didn't watch any of the other shows. Just the just the post game. That's what I always.
There has to have been people that did that who just like love Chris Hardwick. Like, that is fucked up to think about.
Yeah, like Walking Dead, the actual episodes is like TLDR, so they just go get their Hardwick fix.
Yeah. There was a 3-year period where Chris Hardwick was the biggest celebrity in America. That was really crazy.
Yeah, he was the guy who talked about the shows.
Yeah. That makes sense, because if our religion became shows, Chris Hardwick was he was like the Ayatollah.
Yeah.
Shows.
Now you guys are Planet Hardwick.
Yeah, because we reached, I think, around Breaking Bad, when Breaking Bad and Walking Dead were on at the same time. I think that was the peak of, and that was like 2010, 2010, 2011. Yeah. So like first term Obama, that was the pinnacle of TV in my opinion. That was peak TV, and that was when you had so much emotional investment in the shows that you had a need for there to be shows about the shows. And so there was a post Walking Dead show with Chris Hardwick, and then there was also for the last season a post Breaking Bad show.
That's right, there was.
Yeah.
Talking Bad. He's also doing Talking Saul. I didn't know this, but he's still out there and he's doing Talking Saul on since season 2 of Better Call Saul, which also a good show. I enjoyed that one too.
Man, I love Bob Odenkirk. I that's one of those shows that I don't know why I left it, but I did. Like after the first season,
I also stopped watching it, and after the second season, I don't know how many. It's on 4 now.
I think so. Yeah.
I think I stopped after the 3rd. I have not caught up on the 4th. And what had happened is that for me it got too much Breaking Bad in it to the point where there's no more suspense, because it's like, don't you want to know how Uncle how Tio got his stroke? No. Don't you want to know about like the rise of Gus? No, not really. Like I would like to see a show operate on its own dramatic logic and with its own characters. And Better Call Saul just got too trapped by its association. It became too MCU-ified as part of this like broader thing instead of being its own deal. To this day, I still think that they fucked up with the way they went with Better Call Saul. I remember when they were first talking, because I was a huge Breaking Bad head, and of course, I'm always a huge Bob Odenkirk fan, Mr. Showhead from the jump. Was delighted to see him on the show, loved him on the show. And so when they start talking about doing a spinoff that would be a prequel, I was like, hell yeah. And I remember reading an interview where they said that one of the ideas they had was it would have been like a case of the week show, where every week Saul has a case where he has to try to avoid actually going to court. Like just to plead it out or get the guy off without having to go to a trial, because he doesn't know what he's doing. And I thought that was a great idea. And you really see how structured and how constrained this genre is by when they finally came out with the show. It really is aesthetically and in its beats and in its tone, it is just Breaking Bad again.
Are there any, like, do you think, I mean, it's not a 1-to-1, but do you think Mayans kind of suffers in that same way?
Yeah, yeah. And I really enjoyed Mayans, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. Those are 2 shows that I enjoyed the start of, but like haven't really gone back to. And I think in both cases, it's a thing where, yeah, you get fatigue of the universe, and you get fatigue of like basically knowing what these characters are and their world is.
Also, like, when they fired Kurt Sutter from Mayans, I was like, "There's no way I'm watching the show now."
Whoa! This is news to me.
They fired him halfway through last season, and I was like, "I won't watch another episode of this show now."
He was too real.
Yeah.
Well, that is the thing. The reason to keep watching Mayans was it's like, what absolutely insane thing is he going to do with this? And it's like, well, now nothing. Like now, because Kurt Sutter's choices, probably I think the biggest, most notable one was to write a character in who is just him and make him lose an eye and like get AIDS,
bite his tongue out, spit it on the cops.
Such an amazing choice that nobody else in the world would do. And it's like, I really wanted to see what he had in store.
That's what's been going on with I'm watching The Shield for the first time in my, like, I've never seen it. So I just started it a couple weeks ago. I'm on season 2, and Kurt Sutter's character is a badass Albanian. And like at the end of he's a gangster. And at the end of one of the episodes, they're like, Oh man, he jumped out of a truck going out of a paddy wagon going 40 miles an hour, and he survived. And now we don't know where he's at, and everybody like looks really scared. And I'm like, he wrote that. That's so cool that he made himself a badass.
And you know the
Albanian.
foot fetish joke, the little foot fetish thing.
Yeah,
on the heavy, like that's all Sutter.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's amazing he plays an Armenian mafia member, and it's like Kurt Sutter is like the most like ruddy Western European looking guy in the fucking world. But it's like, do you think that was his penance? He was like, oh, I made my guy too cool in the Shield. I know.
Well, Otto is so the thing about it is Otto is very important to Sons of Anarchy.
Hugely.
He's like the linchpin of a lot of storylines. They always have to go visit him in prison, and then he's like,
and he keeps it realer than any of them. Like
right.
he's dying before he's snitching.
Yeah, so he's actually cool. He likes the torture stuff, I think, because he likes edgy shit. But I also think that he sees Otto as the coolest character in Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
He's the realest G.
Yeah.
He's the actual G. You guys, I don't know what the opinion of Kurt Sutter's acting is among everybody here, but he's gotten work outside of his own productions. There's this movie that just came out, Chaos Walking, which was
which coincidentally is also his autobiography title.
Yes. So this movie it's $100 million film that was based on a young adult novel about a dystopian world where all the women have disappeared and all of the remaining men can hear each other's thoughts. And it has Daisy Ridley and Tom what the fuck's his name? Tom Holland and Mads Mikkelsen.
That's amazing that Kurt Sutter would agree to be with B-listers like that.
Yes.
They were allowed to act in a movie with
motherfucking Kurt Sutter is in it. And it was shot like 3 years ago, and they like put it in the can and tried to reshoot it a million times. And now they've just released it under COVID so that they could write off the entire budget.
What's Kurt Sutter's character? Is he just like has a uterus and everyone has to fuck him, and he like gets STDs, like also loses an eye?
He plays the adoptive father of the main character, Todd Holland, named Cillian Boyd.
Cillian Boyd,
yeah,
of course.
He picked that.
They said, "What's your name going to be, Kurt?"
No, I don't know, something like Cillian Boyd. He was thinking of that for years. He was like, "I need to play a character named Cillian Boyd." Did he do anything cool in it? Like,
I don't know. I have not seen the film.
I
do kind of want to see just the Sutter clips, just to see him flexing his acting muscles. Yeah. But just the idea that he's going like on auditions or getting offered acting roles off of the strength of being Otto is amazing to me.
And like, he didn't really like Otto. Every Otto scene is seen as the same. It's actually easier for him because Otto loses more and more parts of his body, giving him fewer that he has to act with. But it'll just be like, are you gonna rat on the club? Fuck you. And then like cut his ear off or something.
Do you remember the moment when you thought Otto was going to dime the club out?
Yeah. That was intense.
He would never do that.
But he made up for it by killing that innocent woman. He redeems himself.
That's that whole show. That whole show really is just guys killing innocent people. Most of the time. The whole last season of Sons of Anarchy is, first of all, every episode's 95 minutes long. And most of it is meetings, but it is really Jax walking around killing just indiscriminately 50 people.
Like unintentionally, just like people in his orbit though too.
On accident. Yeah. Have any of you seen Southpaw? Because he wrote that movie and I never actually watched it.
I was going to ask you about that. Is that the Jake Gyllenhaal boxing?
Yes.
It is, yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Eminem supposed to have the lead in that? And then
I believe
they went
so.
with Gyllenhaal?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Like Eminem was 100% cut Sutter's like first choice. And then the
Absolutely.
studio was like, no, we're not. It's not happening.
Kurt Sutter probably thinks he paved the way for Eminem. That is probably what he thinks about himself. That it's like he opened the culture up enough for Eminem to thrive.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, he's so great. He really
He's
is
awesome.
I wish it's like him and the people that made Banshee and Warrior should be allowed to make unlimited shows. I
Absolutely.
really believe that.
You know what's so great about Kurt Sutter? I have no fucking clue what his politics are. Like every other like fucking dumbass showrunner, it's just like all the same like pro Biden shit, like same like Hollywood liberalism. But I know all this stuff about Kurt Sutter and seek him out so much, and I like really actually don't know like what he is because I just know all this other shit about him.
Yeah,
Like-
all I
like
know
his
is an animal
personal
rights
mythology.
activist and vegan, which is
Hell
surprising
yeah.
to me. Yeah, so he's probably one of us, maybe. I don't know.
I think he's probably got the same politics as Mickey Rourke. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
like when Mickey Rourke said Donald Trump is a punk and a bitch, I feel like that's the kind of thing that Kurt Sutter would say.
100%.
Like that Trump is just like Trump's a pussy.
Yeah, that's
Like not that he's like a fascist orange maniac or that he's a Putin puppet, but that he's a fucking pussy.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's like that seems. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. He's like one of those like, you know, real guys, real men listen to women as their friend.
Yeah,
it's like well said. Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. But that's the point.
He'll
Is
do
like
that,
I don't
Felix,
really
and then
know.
he'll say something like real gross about like fucking Katie Seagal in the same sentence about his like feminism. It's like,
yeah.
like yeah, we should all be allies, and yeah, I busted open Peggy Bundy every fucking night.
Well,
Something like that.
he definitely wants the world to know, or at least think that, you know, him and his wife are still fucking. That's a major
100%.
thing for him.
That's another underrated part of Sons of Anarchy is that at the end of every episode they have like Katie Seagal sing House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah. He is a OG wife guy of the first hour.
He really is.
really into his wife.
Loves her so fucking
He
much.
fucking loves her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always what was the House of the Sons of Anarchy house band called? Like the
Oh, I
Forest
have no
Rangers
idea.
or something like that, like Burt Combs and the Forest Rangers or some shit like that. I don't know, but it's always it's like big Fudge Cake Mountain, the Pipe Dwellers or something. But it's always like them featuring Katie Seagal, and it's like singing like a Neil Young song or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A really slow version of the House of the Rising Sun while like somebody shoots up heroin and somebody else is like driving on their motorcycle contemplating like their homosexuality or something.
It's like Theo Rossi's, what's his name? Juice.
Juice.
Yeah, Juice contemplating his latent homosexuality on the way to betray the club.
Yeah. There's that like that's the other thing I love about Sutter is that like most people have broad themes, right? That you can identify very, very broadly. Like I got obsessed. Some would say a mania. Some courts have said that obsessed with Ken Olin, the creator of This Is Us. And I got really involved in his body of work. And it's like, oh, his things about like family and like gradually aging and like trying to replicate the good traits of your parents and like, you know, negate the bad ones and shit like that. But like, you know, Chuck Lorre, the American Family sitcom, blah, blah, blah. Kurt Sutter's is like betrayal. That's the biggest, that's his favorite number one issue. That's his like all of his stories are really about betrayal. All of those.
They're about like not giving, they're about like not betraying people when it's the absolute hardest. It's kind of like they're like if a hot girl walks up to you and you don't cheat on your wife, that's like a really big thing for Kurt Sutter. That's like how he would judge you as a good person.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think I was a big fan of This Is Us, Felix, and my family watches This Is Us. and I have walked in on it a few times, and I gotta say it's pretty incredible that you watched it. I gotta tell you.
That's what our final episode that we're going to release is This Is Us, and I've gone deeper into my Ken Olin research because I do like it's what started this all, and it is one of the most evil things I've ever seen in my life. Like, just completely fucking. I don't care how many people the Sons of Anarchy kill or how many women Ray Donovan throws in a dumpster after they overdose. This Is Us is the most satanic thing I've ever seen on American TV.
I mean,
I can't wait. I'm so excited for having
You're
to watch this thing.
really gonna be upset.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That show, when I walk in and I see it, first of all, it looks like there's never joy in that. Like, I guess when I walk in, everybody's crying every single time on that show. And like, they don't watch it around me because I'm like the classic dad that comes in and complains, like, oh, this is the lady stuff,
Well, yeah, every like, yeah, because it is designed like in the way that like fast food is made in a lab to be addictive to you. This Is Us is supposed to be like emotionally addictive and taxing, and like every character, like a typical This Is Us episode is like a character's dad is like, I've just said I love you to the first time to you for the first time in 48 years. But I also have cancer, and I'm also gonna like freak out and fucking punch you if you try to take me to the cancer hospital your friend works at. That's the best cancer hospital in the world. And then we're gonna both shave our heads because I'm getting chemo. But it turns out it was a false diagnosis. Actually, but I have a heart attack. And then when I'm dying, I have a dream about when I met your mom, and you have the same dream. And our mom, who like died tragically in a thing that I never talk about, says forgive yourself, and then I die, and then I'm back to life, and then you get into a car accident. That's that's like every episode. It's like the most manipulative fucking thing I've ever seen.
I do have the same sickness as you guys too, because like I watched every episode of WandaVision, which was like, why did I like when it ended? I was like, this really sucks, and that really sucked. And then it was like, but like, was it ever not gonna suck? Like, was there ever a world where it wasn't gonna suck shit? And like I line up for the next thing, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm gonna watch that fucking thing. I feel like I have to. I feel like it's duty.
Well, yeah, no, that is something that we hit on a lot, is that the amount of shows and saturation and just like how it just presented to you. And we have this in lieu of like any real cultural event. And so it's just like you have this work of watching all this fucking bullshit. Yeah. And you don't like any of it.
No.
And we have several big theses in our series for our Stitcher series, but I think one that I hadn't contemplated before was that the buy-in, like the support for this era of media, is actually very hollow. That like if you like, there are diehards for a lot of shows, but I think for like most of the audience of This Is Us, if they took it away, there would be like Fedayeen who are still like fighting forever probably for it. But I would say at least 51% of the audience, probably more, just wouldn't notice. Yeah. It would be like when you take like a puzzle away from a monkey who's lived in captivity his entire life.
When you cancel a radio show or like fire a local news anchor, it's kind of the same thing. Because
I can't believe, like, it's most people, it's just either the thing you're supposed to do or the thing that's right in front of you after your body gives out, after you've been working like 15 hours a fucking day. Because all of this is so offensive to like any human sense of what's entertaining or like good in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I don't know. Do y'all have like shows that like, you have like a go-to, like, oh, I'm feeling depressed, I'm just going to watch this show for the 17,000th fucking time, or anything like that?
when I'm in a bad mood, I mean, I've watched Sopranos so many times that it just like I can have whatever level of engagement I want with it.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm watching something where I'm like feel bad and want to feel worse, there are a few episodes of Sopranos that like I'll watch Deadwood. Definitely.
Deadwood's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. But if I'm not trying to feel worse, I'll actually just watch fucking 30 Rock.
Yeah, I like to watch sitcoms that I enjoy, like 30 Rock or It's Always Sunny.
Those are great ones.
On the sitcom note, I have one request that at some point during the duration of the show, I want you all to do Wings.
Oh man, I watched so much Wings, dude. I might have seen every episode of Wings. I don't really remember it like the way I watched it. Like I remember every episode of The Simpsons because obviously every episode of The Simpsons I saw as a kid I saw 50 times on syndication.
All right.
But I probably saw every episode of Wings. I remember plot points and scenes and jokes from Wings to this day.
Wings, I think Wings was underrated in the whole, like, I mean, I tweeted something out about it being right up there with Seinfeld, which is a little bit hyperbolic, but I think it was pretty underrated as far as the 90s sitcoms go, especially for a show that ran for like 8 years, but was never really considered like a hit show. You know what I mean?
It was on forever. And just the premise of like, it's like Cheers, but in a airport.
Yeah, it exists in the same universe, right? As Cheers and Frasier, too.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, they had crossovers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea because I just read about the big Saturday event between the Golden Girls, Empty Nest, and some show called Sisters or Nurses.
Oh, Nurses! I remember Nurses. Yeah, all those shows took place in like the same retirement community in Florida.
I got like really into reading about this night where they did a hurricane storyline that fed through all of those shows. And it sort of reminded me how much time I spent watching Empty Nest while I was growing up.
Oh yeah. Richard Mulligan, baby.
I always got like Mama's Family and Empty Nest kind of mixed up the same way you would like Gary Busey and Nick Nolte.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I actually still remember to this day a line from Empty Nest that I saw probably when I was like 7 or 8 that just like stuck in my head. And it's not even a joke. It's just like a bit of wisdom that kind of like that broke open my brain and kind of I've been stalked by ever since. It's Richard Mulligan, I played a doctor who's talking to his nurse, played by Marsha Warfield from Night Court, another show I watched every episode.
I love Night Court.
And I love Night Court. And I don't remember even the context of the scene, but it's something about a medical treatment that's like somebody who's terminally ill could get that could like help them a little bit. And she says, sure, but it's just postponing the inevitable. And he says, isn't that all that we're doing? Postponing the inevitable? And then just as a kid, I was just like, God damn, that's real shit. I'm gonna die someday. Fuck. Thanks, like, Empty Nest.
This is like the origins of my health anxiety, dude. It's like being sick and watching House MD, and then you just imagine your organs in animated shutdown, and it causes you to get worse. Like, shows are very bad if you have certain neuroses. You got.
I could never get into House.
No, I don't like medical shows. I tried.
That's what I'm saying. I hate medical shows.
I just started the Nick a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I'm finding that I'm thinking about my insides too much. I don't know if I can watch this.
I'm not even like a hypochondriac. I just like with House, I was like, someone should go to the hospital and shoot this guy. I don't care how.
Okay. Yeah, how an asshole, but he gets results. Okay,
that's the thing. I don't care how good of a doctor he is. He's like, it should be about John Wick killing the rudest doctor in the world. One episode, but it was like that just annoying. It was like such a fucking annoying show to me, where it would be like, he's so good at being a doctor, but he's such an asshole because he's such a good person, and it's like this sucks.
It definitely
sucks.
I mean, obviously, it's always overplayed to talk about the cultural influence of these shows. Like you make that up to justify your emotional involvement in them. But I do think that House has probably had a bad impact on a lot of doctors by telling them, yeah, you can be a complete prick as long as you're fucking good at your job, you know?
But yeah. But
and I am a hypochondriac, and that show I watched a good amount of it, and it never freaked me out because all the shit that they had was always so insane that I was like, okay, I don't have this.
Yeah, it's like weird tick-borne encephalitis and shit like that.
Like, I don't. Yeah, it's like, oh, this person he caught a prehistoric like form of syphilis from interacting with dinosaur bones at a museum. Okay, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
Yeah, I mean, I like the format of like, thing of the week or whatever, but just like, yeah, the character sucks so much. I would argue that character had a worse influence on people than Grand Theft Auto. So many like just like middle intelligence people saw that character and was like, oh, I'm gonna be like that.
Yeah,
and that's just the rest of their life. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why Always Sunny is so good, because like those guys are dipshits, and like nobody's kind of trying to be them. And something like House is like, it'll influence the way somebody treats you for the rest of your life. It's like, no, I'm a fucking charming guy. I'm an asshole all the time, but I'm a charming guy.
Yeah. No.
I mean, what do you think? Like, because you just said, Felix, that you like the Thing of the Week show, and like I feel like I have been conditioned over the last several years that like I can't watch another episode if I don't feel like it's tied into the last episode. Like I am like, I think I've been propagandized to believe that everything has to be totally serialized and has to be like a season-long arc story.
I mean, I do like that. Like, some of my favorite shows are definitely like, season arcs and everything, and more connected overall series arcs. But like, I don't know. Like, I guess it's for different types of shows. But like, Thing of the Week is my favorite thing to watch where you just don't think about it. You're just not thinking that much. Like, you're so consumed by whatever the thing is, why the thing is this way, why it's perplexing, how it can be solved, that like it's just a completely mind-occupying space. Whereas with like a series arc, like Deadwood or Sopranos, two of my favorites, not like my two absolute favorites, are you're sort of actively involved and deciphering the entire arc as you go. But I guess it boils down to like, what level of involvement do I want to have with this? And for now, for me, it's like not that much.
For sure. I do want to tell you though, because you brought this up earlier in the show, Felix, I am still listening to Howard Stern like every episode over the year, right? And last week he had Ronnie, his limo driver, come on and talk about the top 5 hottest women on television shows, and every single one of them was from like a CBS show called FBI.
That's the other thing. We're talking about shows, and what we've mostly not talked about because of our demographic is the fact that the shows that people actually watch are all police procedurals on network television. There's like 6 NCIS shows about Navy crime. There are multiple shows about specifically about Navy crime.
JAG.
And then there's just a show called FBI. And these shows are watched by millions of people, way more than any of these boutique streaming shows or cable ones are.
Yeah, and we did Law and Order because it's sort of like the cop shows obviously existed before, but in this modern form, I feel like it all comes from Law and Order. Yeah. And it is how popular those are insane. And I don't think people have begun to grasp it. Like, you know our favorite guy, Shamar Moore, right? Yeah.
Shamar's in like 12 of those.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why like when he posts those videos, like all those like 50-year-old women are like, you're the sexiest man in the world. Like I love you. It's because it's like that's the biggest audience really, or like people who like they just want to watch a procedural about the FBI.
There's a goth lady on NCIS who most people who are listening to this probably wouldn't even notice if they walked past them, or just think they were headed to a hot topic or something. Who, if she ran for like governor, would win in every state in this country because everybody's mom and dad know her and love her from being on NCIS for fucking 10 years now.
The two people that are guaranteed to win elections in America, it's not veterans. I'm doing some math on this, and I think actually being in the Air Force makes you less likely to win an election than if you killed, like you directly like were convicted of murder, you know?
It's viewed as soft.
Yeah, it just no one's electing. Democrats love finding someone who's like, I flew some piece of shit plane that broke over a country where no one has electricity. I may have dropped. I actually don't know if I killed anyone or not. I'm running to replace this senator that's been here for 50 years, lose by like 30 points. They just love that. But the two, if you actually want to win, one, like any college or pro sports coach or athlete would win. That's what we have instead of war heroes. And then, someone from a network police show.
Yeah.
Somebody from FBI Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Or like,
Fred Thompson tried a little too early. Like now.
That was too early. That
now,
was
if he were still alive. Yeah, he would have got through the primary.
Yeah. No, that's like that has replaced everything in America.
Yeah, it's incredible that when you look at the list of series on CBS, and you don't even know any. SEAL Team, SWAT, Salvation.
You just know that LL Cool
Salvation?
J and Shamar Moore are going to be in 60% of them.
Yeah.
It's the only thing for certain.
Shamar Moore, like I found out about shows because of just like him. I found out about all of it through Shamar Moore. I didn't know him or any of these things before him.
Salvation is a show about an asteroid that will impact Earth in just 6 months. And it highlights the attempts to prevent it and its worldwide ramifications. This is a CBS show, I believe.
Okay, so I've got some questions about the longevity of this because, like, this is not Netflix. They try to make these things franchises. So, how are they going to divvy this up? At some point, the asteroid has to either hit Earth or be destroyed or diverted. At that point, what do you do if you're still like a popular show? Is the next season? It's like, another asteroid's coming.
That's true.
You would have to do Salvation Mars or like Salvation just like on a different planet.
What about like, it's a volcano this time? It's going to erupt. The super volcano is going to erupt.
I got that too. Like due to my showbiz genetics, I instantly awakened an anxiety in how long you can have that show. But I realized like they're just going to do something right where they blow up the asteroid, but then they have to prevent all the smaller pieces of the asteroid from coming to Earth. That's how you franchise it. It's like, we're in charge of like the meteorite that's coming to hit LA. So it's Salvation LA. We're the ones in Miami.
Yeah, they do love to move. They do love to have a city specific episode. I mean, Chicago has like a whole universe. They have like a Chicago extended universe.
Oh yeah, there's Chicago
NBC.
Fire, Chicago Police,
Chicago Med.
Yep. Chicago Garbage. That'd be pretty good.
Chicago Hope.
There should be. It's so fucked up there. Like they should do Chicago Alderman.
That would be great. Just like getting bags of money in a Burger King parking lot.
Yeah. How to figuring out how to this guy's been the same head of a one-man law firm in some shitty Irish neighborhood for 40 years, and he has to explain like $17 million in income. He's like, I found it. Guys have done that in Chicago. That's the funniest shit. They've found guys with like, yeah, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they'll be like, I found it somewhere.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
And you know, Blue Bloods has been on for 11 seasons, which is unfucking believable to me because I've never even seen a second of it. I wouldn't know where to find it, but it's such a popular show. I know Mark Wahlberg's in it, or not Mark Wahlberg, Donnie Wahlberg's in it. So.
I started to say
Mark's not doing TV yet.
Was that Twilight Zone reboot with Jordan Peele any good? That's a CBS show.
I heard it was
CBS
bad.
show. Yeah, I heard it was too.
Bad. It's on All Access. I'm not paying to stream the runoff from one of the networks. It's just not happening.
I'm paying for it, Matt. I have CBS All Access because I have a teenage daughter and somehow they're all into Criminal Minds. Like she watched every episode of Criminal Minds. So I had to pay for All Access so she could get a hold of it.
She's the only person under 60 who watches that show.
No, not true. Not true. This is shocking. Every time I post about Shamar Moore, tons of my reply, like they're like, "Oh, that's look at what Grumfeld from Criminal Minds
apparently
up to."
Yeah, it was a TikTok trend. A bunch of people on TikTok and influencers and YouTubers really like Criminal Minds. And it's like a huge thing with teenagers now, which I like I said, I couldn't believe it. Like I
actually kind of get that because, true crime obviously has become this huge genre for young women. And Criminal Minds is basically a true crime show, dramatized. And I remember when it first came out that it was notable for how particularly kind of gruesome and lurid the crimes were in it compared to other procedurals like that. So that's just, if you're addicted to true crime, that's going to be the closest thing you can get in a scripted series.
Yeah, no, that it makes sense. And I think it's sort of like a generational divide because like true crime, I feel like is for like now women who are like in their late 20s or early 30s, that subset of millennials. But I don't know. I think about to when I was a kid and like there were like just tons of like, it wasn't gender exclusive, like people who were just really into fucking Saw.
Yeah.
Like, that was their thing, was that they loved Saw. And I think there's just like a sociopathy that lessens with age probably, but it's at its height when you're like 15.
Do you know that there was I don't know how many they had or how many people went on it, but do you know that there's a Saw cruise?
Oh, yeah.
There was a cruise you could go on for fans of the Saw franchise, and it was essentially a floating fan convention. And it had different people from the series that you could meet and get their picture taken with, and different panels about like if Jigsaw could defeat the Joker or whatever.
That sounds awesome.
Will you all please go to one of those? It's sort of like a special thing. Like some kind of con.
I don't know if I'd go on the Saw cruise because it's like the moment you brought that up, I just instantly felt so fucking bad for the actors. It's like, fuck, like you're talking to your mom and it's like, yeah, no, I was in a movie that made, $30 billion because it's like,
and now I'm trapped at sea with a bunch of people in Slipknot hoodies trying to talk to me about like how cool it was when my head got crushed in a vice.
Like, think about it. If they were in any other movie, it's like, oh my God, like world's your oyster. You're fucking set. But because it's like fucking Saw, it's like, no, a few years after the movie, I have to like be stranded. I have to go into eternity at the Bermuda Triangle with like some fucking dumbass from like White Bear Lake, Minnesota. It's like, well, do you think Jigsaw could outsmart Batman? Like, it's fucking, that sucks, man. I feel so, because I've known every fucking dumbass that was just obsessed with Saw, and it was just all like, they were all my friends who like said the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. It's the one commonality. But yeah, no, I think that just really gruesome shit is popular with like kids.
Yeah. COVID took away that new Saul movie with Chris Rock that was coming out. I was kind of thinking I was going to see that. Yeah, there's a Saul prequel that has Chris Rock in it, I believe, that was supposed to come out.
Why? It's amazing. He had his chance to be an actor when he was huge, but everyone realized, oh, you suck. You're not good at this. You're not Eddie Murphy, you know? You're not good at acting. You don't have charisma on camera the way he does. And then he went away for a while, like, okay, fair enough, bye. And now he's back acting again. I saw him in Fargo, season 4, getting back to TV, and he was absolutely terrible.
Yes, that was not very good. I did not I didn't make it all the way through the season, and it was like the worst indictment. The only other show I can think of where this happened with me was The Man in the High Castle. I watched every single episode except for the last one, and I was like, you know what, I don't need to see it.
I did that with Game of Thrones. I only watched the final episode for the episode that we did, but it's like, yeah, no, that the last season sucked so much. I was just like, I don't care.
There is really something. It really says something when you watch 11 episodes of a 12 episode season and then just decide like, nah, I don't fucking really need this.
And I watched that show from the beginning. Like my life changed so much. So many things like happened. I like, you know, just in the entire run of the series, like just an incredible amount of life passed, and I always watched it. And for the vast majority, I always looked forward to it, like no matter what else was going on in my life, like good or bad. And then, yeah, I get to the very end and I'm like, who gives a shit? Like, you have to fuck up so bad. Think about how much dog shit I watch. And I was like, I could literally do anything else.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about The Man in the High Castle. Was like, I watched all the episodes of the first season. I got to the last episode and I was like, I would rather watch one of the bad movies that I just sit and I'd rather watch Transmorphers than this.
That might be a good way to kind of put a bow on it here. Like, let's dismantle the sacred cows real quick. Like, what's like the show that you think everybody, or maybe it's not even that everybody loves, but that's widely considered a masterpiece that you think is dog shit? And
The Wire.
The Wire did not age well.
The Wire fucking sucks. It's actually quite a bad show. And during, like, the further I get away from it, the more I'm like, because during our episode, I was like, it is a better than average show, but it still fucking sucks. It's like everything that people think is cool about it is terrible. Everything.
Yeah, I remember liking it a lot when I saw it, but
me too.
It does not hold up.
That's incredible.
I went back to it and it was funny. Like those sort of like early aughts HBO shows, or like the only prestige shows that had product placement too. And then like Sopranos had a little bit of that, but like, do you remember the Verizon product placement in like Wire season 3, I think it was, or something like that?
Jesus. I love The Wire. Like The Wire might be one of my favorite things, but I haven't watched it since 2004. So like, and you know, I was kind of delirious. I like watched that whole series right when my kid was born and I couldn't do anything else. And I just thought it was like this really incredible thing. But now I kind of am curious to watch it again and see if it actually is not good.
It won't be. No, like that's the thing. Anyone who disagrees with me, like I caught a lot of flack for saying it recently, but anyone who disagrees with me, it's like, no, you haven't watched it in 5 years. Like try
you
doing
just
that.
Feel good.
Yeah. And the more, it wasn't even the politics of it that made me fucking hate it. Like, I don't really require like any particular like politics to anything I watch, but it like made it shittier because the narrative wasn't even good. Like, it just the writing is like actually very hackneyed, and it's not just because of, like, David Chase is annoying, or not David Chase, David Simon. But that is like the thing that has aged the absolute worst. I've gone back and watched like everything else, and it's like nothing's really changed. I actually maybe don't like Brotherhood quite as much, but still think it's very good. But The Wire, no, I have a lot of trouble with.
Yeah, I thought Treme, the short-lived Treme, was way better than The Wire. Like, just in terms of like, you know, like what was out there of it versus that, and then I don't know, they just canceled it.
David Simon's like, he's just gonna like write cringe for the rest of his life, which is like honestly good. I want to do that.
Yeah, he's just gonna be talking about twat waffles online for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. That shit's fucking. I actually love that. I love, like, there is a type of like, you know, fucking stupid, like, based liberal that I miss that doesn't exist. You know who's one of those guys? That fucking dumbass who was like, I was the chief prosecutor at Guantanamo Bay. We have to kill everyone from January 6th. And it's, hold on, you were what were you? And that guy was like an early, like, late Bush, early Obama era, like, epic liberal guy who's like, you know, John Boehner couldn't do a push-up in the fucking military. Fuck him up. Like Peter, like I always think about like Peter Fonda, like a day before he died, was like, what if somebody abducted Barron? Like, that's like, I love that. That type of guy is so fucking funny to me. Brian, I always think about those guys you posted, like, it's like 7 years ago, the horned up libs.
Oh God.
Which I fear may be lost forever now, but
it's out. That account the account's back. I just can't get into it. So I'll have to find these are some horned up libs because it is disgusting.
It's my favorite postable. I'm gonna be probably retweeting it every day for like a month, but for the people that don't know, can you describe what it is?
It's just it was on a liberal Facebook page, and it was people, two guys talking about Sarah Palin, and just using some really like gross, like saying like, oh, I'd like to, you know, show her my polls or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
I'm gonna fuck the crazy out of her.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of them said she's due for a good drilling. I fucking miss guys like that. They're really like, that is sort of Biden's base, I guess, but they just like don't have the presence on Twitter as they did on Facebook.
Yeah, they got away. I would say that the show that people seem to like that I didn't love was The Americans. Like, that was the one where I kind of decided like not all prestige TV is good.
Yeah.
Because I just like kind of fell off. I was able to like kind of fall off on a show that like did have like a big arc and people really loved it and tried to convince you that they were the, you know, it's the best show on TV that you're not watching. And it's like, I really tried hard.
I tried to get into it too. I couldn't.
Yeah, me too. I watched like I don't even know if I watched the whole first season. I was just, they're just going to keep looking at each other. No, thank you.
Yeah. I thought it was like cool. And like, I enjoyed that of it that I did watch, but it was just like, yeah, it just didn't hook me.
Yeah, and I will say this, and like I sent Will this actually, but there is a show on HBO Max called Years and Years.
Oh, I watched that.
Oh man, I was like, that is the best. That would be the best Chapo like episode because it is an insane.
That show is wild. Yeah, it's this like British family. It's an attempt to do like a sweeping social history by going like years into the future with this middle class British family and their ups and downs and how they're reflecting like 19th century social, like a fucking like a Dreiser novel or something, or like Zola, but it's just absolutely idiotic. And
It's
it actually
lib-brained.
ends with one of the. It's so lib-brained. Like there's an evil. Emma Thompson plays like an evil sort of like proto-fascist leader who takes this third-party movement that like takes over British politics, and they start locking up migrants in cages. But then the brave family like records them doing it, and then she goes to jail. And then it ends with like the terminally ill, like crusading conscience of the family who has cancer, getting her brain uploaded into the cloud so that she can live forever on the internet.
Oh,
There's a
man,
scene.
dude.
There is a scene in the first episode where this family's kid is like, they're like, I think she's having troubles, you know. I think she's trans. We should talk to her. And she's like, they're like, honey, are you trans? And she's like, yeah. So then they start saying like, we'll love you no matter if you're our son or our daughter or them. We'll love you no matter what. She is like, actually, I'm transhuman.
Yeah,
And,
she wants to get like computers surgically implanted into her body.
Yeah,
and that's her coming out as trans.
Oh man,
it's powerful. It's fucking such a bad. It's so bad. It is addictive. It's only 6 episodes, and I watched them in 2 days, and through the whole thing was just sitting there going like, wow, this really sucks.
What caused you guys to watch this?
I'm always a sucker. For me, it was because the premise of like, ooh, it's the future. I always want to know what idiots think the future is going to be like, and not like the sci-fi future, but like the near future. Because that's the thing, is it starts like in the near future, and then it goes like 30 years into the future.
Yeah, it's like when you look at the description on HBO. It's just like a British family goes through ups and downs.
Yeah,
but
and it also features President Trump nuking a Chinese island.
Yes. Yes. President Trump, like after he's won re-election.
Yeah.
And I think they assumed he was going to stay the president, you know, or be president even further into the future. Because they said at one point that like he's not president anymore, but he's still in charge, like they say about Putin. And so it's great. When I looked it up, the reason I watched this because when I looked it up, it was like everybody described it as like this brilliant like social commentary and a cautionary tale for what our future could look like. And then when Trump nukes that island at the end of the first episode, it's just like, this is fucking shit, man. But you would absolutely, anyone that's listening to this show would absolutely have a fucking hell of a time watching it. It is very funny.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild program. I recommend it.
Tom, do you have like?
Sorry.
Do you like? Besides the Americans, is there like any other show that you think is like far shittier than its critical level of acclaim?
I can't prove this, okay? And this could be a big whiff on my part. I'm going to revisit it, but I think there's at least a non-zero chance that Breaking Bad sucks.
Oh, nope.
Am I off? You think I'm way off?
I don't think I recently rewatched it, and I don't think it sucks. I think it like definitely gets worse as time goes on.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Sucks is a little harsh.
I absolutely do agree with that. I think that as the show got more popular, it got overly aware of its audience.
Yeah.
And it started sort of pandering. Like it sort of did the opposite of what The Sopranos did when it got popular. Or I mean, obviously The Sopranos started very popular, but as like David Chase became aware of like the culture around the show, he sort of consciously made the show and the characters more unappealing to like confront the audience with like what they think they like about it. Whereas Breaking Bad sort of did the opposite thing, where they just said, hey, you guys like these cool guys being cool. Well, what if they were even cooler?
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, and that's another reason why, we believe TV is uniquely limited as an art form, is the amount of audience participation.
Absolutely. It would be hard if you were a writer not to kind of be like,
yeah,
you
like any
this?
show that's like that the time element of the temporal element of television is the thing. As I said, that's what limits it, because you need to the shape of the story is not determined by any creative force. It's great. It's audience response and like the market. And if that's the case, like you are undermining like the creative raison d'etre for the show to even exist, and replacing it over time with just pandering and profit seeking.
And that's the thing. The one group of people that's always going to have the worst suggestions for anything in entertainment are the audience.
Yeah.
They universally have the worst ideas.
Idiots.
Yes.
Out of any input you get.
Yeah.
Always the audience has the shittiest ideas.
It's just always based on what you've already, what has already been done in the series. You know what I mean? Like with Breaking Bad, it's like, hey, these guys are doing something totally different. And then they were like, what if, the fans started having these theories, and they formed the show around these theories, and still kind of surprised you at times. That's why I liked it. But like, you're absolutely right that like the show could have been something totally different if they weren't responding to the heat online, especially down there for that last season.
And the last episode specifically.
Yeah.
You could really see where they just lost their nerve. And Vince Gilligan basically admitted that. He admitted that like the expectations, the audience commitment was too much, and the fear of getting everyone to be mad at him was too much. You don't want literally everyone to say that you're an asshole for fucking up their expectations of what they think that you are owing them.
Didn't Breaking Bad almost get canceled like after its first season?
Yeah,
I think I wouldn't be surprised.
Two.
I mean, it wasn't that. It took a few seasons for it to blow up.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember it like it was just all of a sudden the biggest shit on TV. Like, but it was like well into its run by the time it really took off.
It was very early on when Netflix switched to basically just streaming. It was very early, one of the shows on there. And then that's what got people into it. Being able to binge those first 3 seasons is what ended up getting people into it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, when it was on Netflix.
But yeah, one of the things about that show is like that episode before the last is pretty brutal, and like could have been the last episode of the season, but
they couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah. I mean, I would be scared too. That's what's interesting about Better Call Saul too, is they're rolling into the last season, and it's like, is he going to have the guts not to put Bryan Cranston in it?
Wait a minute. So they're going into, so there's going to be 5 seasons, right?
Yeah, I believe
this will be the 5th season.
I believe
so he is not Saul for the majority of the show.
No.
That's fucking stupid. It's called Better Call Saul.
It was frustrating to me too. I did want him to be a little less Jimmy McGill and a little more, Saul.
But that's the thing. It's like, it has to have an arc. He has to become Saul. Why? Why does he have to become Saul? Why can't he just be a guy who's fun to watch on television? Why can't he be a cool character that we like? Also, he's already the guy. He's already the guy. It's like you just have to keep pulling and pushing him up and down, but he's the same guy. It's all fake character development.
Yeah, it's the same story as Breaking Bad too. It's like a guy that's decent that keeps getting more bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the same fucking character arc. It's like how in Solo, the character arc of Han Solo is he goes from like being a carefree cynic who doesn't want to sign on for any causes to fighting for the rebellion. That's what happens in fucking Star Wars.
That's very true.
Fellas, I think before we start picking apart the finer points of the Mandalorian, perhaps we should call it there. Thank you guys so much for doing this. This is fucking awesome. I'd like any chance I can just to kind of, chill in the cut and talk about Kurt Sutter. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much.
Pleasure is
Always
ours.
a good time. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Very fun. I had a good time here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah. Well, check these guys out. Their new endeavor. Time for my stories. I'm going to go dig into the Gunsmoke episode tomorrow. Y'all started with the two biggest shows in Eastern Kentucky history. So
Gunsmoke actually fucking rock. That was like one of my favorite shows we did that I'd never seen before.
Can I ask what y'all got? If y'all got anything teed up that you care to share, or would you rather just let it?
Oh yeah, no, we do have we're releasing a free episode this week. We're releasing Gossip Girl like probably sometime like tomorrow or the day after.
Gossip Girl's a
we'll
guilty
see.
pleasure.
That show rocked.
Yeah, I love Gossip
But everyone will hear my theory about Gossip Girl.
I'll be on pins and needles. So anyway, thanks fellas. Yeah, let's do it.
Pleasure.
Let's do it again sometime. And
Absolutely.
y'all out there listening, if you like what you heard, go to